The objectives of this lesson is to evaluate an exponential expression. Exponents are used to write products of repeated factors. In other words, it's just simply a shorthand way of writing numbers when you want to multiply a number repeatedly or over and over again. Instead of keep writing that number, for example, if I want to multiply the number 4 3 times, instead of writing 4 times 4 times 4, I can write it as 4 being the number that's going to be multiplied. That's called the base. And then the number in the upper right hand corner, the small number, that's called your exponent. It tells you how many times you're going to multiply that base number. So 4 raised to the third power means I'm going to multiply the number 4 3 times. Let's practice evaluating some exponents. So we have 2 raised to the fourth power. That means I'm going to multiply the number 2 how many times? Yes, that's right, 4 times. So when we do that, it's going to look like so. You can multiply as you go across from left to right, however you'd like to do it. For example, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 2 is 16. So therefore, 2 raised to the fourth power equals 16. For the next example, we have negative 8. That is going to be multiplied how many times? Yes, 2 times. So we're going to write the negative 8 twice. You should know that when you're multiplying integers, 2 negatives equals a positive. So that's going to equal 64. For the next example, we have the number negative 2 being multiplied how many times? Yes, 3 times. So you can simply multiply across. Negative and a negative, remember, is a positive, so that's going to be positive 4, and positive 4 times negative 2 is going to give you negative 8. And I'm going to show you in the upcoming slides, anytime you have a negative number raised to an odd power, it is always going to be a negative. Let's move on to the next one. We have the fraction 3/5. That's going to be multiplied how many times? That's correct, 3 times. So again, we can multiply those as well. On the top, I have 3 times 3, which is 9. 9 times 3 is 27, so that's going to leave me with a numerator of 27. On the bottom, I have 5 times 5, which is 25. And 25 times 5 equals 125. So therefore, it equals 27 over 125. And so now I want to take the time to carefully go over a problematic area I see for many students when I grade the test on this particular section. It is just knowing how to differentiate between a negative being on the outside, whether you have a parentheses or whether you don't have a parentheses. It's the negative that sometimes gives students a headache. So I'm going to just use the number 3 as an example to illustrate the differences between them. So you already know that if the number is positive, such as in this case, this is 3, you're going to multiply 2 times. So 3 times 3 is 9. So we know that equals 9. Now, if you look at that and you look at the second examples, they are exactly the same, except you have a negative on the outside of the second example. And so all you did was you took this first example, you put a negative in front of it. What you did to that is you negated it. In other words, the answer will be the opposite of the original answer. So in this one, the answer was 9. So the answer to this one is going to be negative 9, because all it is, is the very same thing, but with a negative in front of it. And also, before we go to that one, let's go over to a case where if you have a positive and a parentheses, that will not change. It's still going to equal 9, because here you had 3 multiplied 2 times, that gave you 9. This is the same thing. 3 multiplied 2 times, that's going to give you 9. Now back to where we were saying here. This is the opposite of this answer. So yes, it's the 3. You have 2 of the number 3's that are being multiplied, but they have a negative in front of it. So all you're doing is negating your answer. Okay, so that's going to equal -9. Next, what if you had it in parentheses? So in parentheses, that's -3 multiplied how many times? 2 times. And recall that 2 negatives will always equal, you got it, a positive. Now, take a look at this example. Now, let's look at the last example. The only difference between them is this negative on the outside. So again, you are going to negate your answer, which means it's going to be the opposite of the original answer. So the answer originally is going to be 9, but if you negate it, 9, but with a negative in front of it, becomes -9. So you have to think of it that way. You're just negating it. If you put a negative in front of anything, it's going to change it to its opposite. Okay, that's it for this lesson. Thank you for watching Math Videos on PowerPoint with Dr. Speights.